How does a man go from favourite at one club to joining one of their bitter rivals to wanting to leave, all in the space of 24 hours? From a beloved forward at Barcelona and Arsenal to a hated figure at United, this is the story of Alexis Sanchez and one of the worst transfers in Premier League history. Born in Tocopilla, Chile in 1988, Alexis Alejandro Sanchez and his family never had the luxuries and wealth he'd go on to have later in his career. A poverty-stricken mining town whose name means Devil's Corner, Sanchez gravitated towards the one thing he loved: football. With his father leaving the family before Alexis was born, his mother was unable to provide for the family. But that wouldn't get in the way of her son's dreams. Seeing his talent with the ball, she sought help from their mayor, Alexander Kurtovic, who gave him his first ever pair of football boots. One day he showed up at our house with a pair of football boots. I can't explain how happy and thrilled I was. I couldn't believe it. It was evident that even at such a young age, Sanchez was destined to make it in football. Part of CD Corbello's youth system, Sanchez was immediately thrust into the spotlight. El Nino Maravilla, or the Boy Wonder, made his debut at just 16 years and 3 months old, thanks to manager Nelson Acosta. 1 month later, he scored his first ever professional goal against Deportes Concepcion. A quick and direct forward with an eye for goal, but also possessing that South American grit and work rate, Sanchez had all the talent to succeed overseas. And it was such potential that attracted European clubs. And just 1 year later, at 17, Alexis Sanchez joined Italian Serie A side Udinese for a reported fee of around £2 million. Sporting director Fabrizio Larini knew he would become a special player, saying, "We had heard about Alexis as a teenager. We sent a couple of scouts to see him live and they confirmed what we had heard. We knew immediately." And it wasn't just his talent that impressed the Udinese hierarchy, it was also his willingness to improve off the pitch. His manager at the time, Pasquale Marino, said, "Alexis could easily play 3 matches per day. As soon as the training match started, Alexis would abandon the recovery and run up to me, almost imploring, 'Mister, let me play, just for a few minutes, please. I promise I won't get injured.' Football is an enormous pleasure for him." Following successful loans at Coca-Cola and River Plate, winning league titles for both sides, it was time for Sanchez to take the next step and establish himself in Udinese's first team. He started 17 games in his first season and became a regular in the Chilean national team, making 18 appearances before the age of 20. His stock grew in the season after, scoring against Roma in the 2010 Coppa Italia semi-final, but his best form was saved until his third season at Udinese. Sanchez contributed to 22 goals in just 31 games, his highlight no doubt coming when he scored 4 goals in a 7-0 win against Palermo. It was clear as day that Sanchez was on the brink of stardom. That's why on the 20th of July 2011, Barcelona signed their first ever Chilean international. This was it, the dream for any South American youngster, the Nou Camp, the chance to play with the likes of Lionel Messi, Iniesta and Xavi. Pep Guardiola heaped the praise on the attacker in his first press conference, saying, "Sanchez is very young. He can play in all 3 attacking positions, he shows intense defensive skills, he's direct, and from what I've been told, he's a very nice kid." Despite mixed results early on, Sanchez established himself in the squad and repaid the faith shown in him by Guardiola. 13 goal contributions in Barcelona's final 12 games of the season helped them reach 100 points in the league, equaling last season's all-time record set by Real Madrid. These weren't goals for the sake of stat padding either. The opener in a 2-0 win over rivals Espanyol, an equaliser against Atletico Madrid in a 2-1 win, and assisting a late winner against Levante. Sanchez proved himself to provide key moments when the team needed it most. However, the signing of Brazilian wonderkid Neymar in the summer of 2013 overshadowed Sanchez in many respects. No longer the new shiny toy, speculation over his future started around this time, but he was always quick to dismiss the rumours, saying his intentions were firmly in Barcelona. The thing about football, though, is that things are rarely set in stone. His final season, whilst his most prolific in terms of goals and assists, was a largely underwhelming one for the club. Losing the Copa del Rey final to Real Madrid thanks to that Gareth Bale goal, and crashing out of the Champions League to Atletico Madrid in the quarter-finals, the same team who also beat them by just 3 points to win La Liga, it was time for Sanchez to make his next move. The pinnacle of football, the Premier League. Just 6 months prior, Arsenal looked like they could go and win their first Premier League title in 10 years. Top at Christmas, things were looking fantastic. However, a combination of big injuries and Arsenal being Arsenal meant they quickly fell away from the title picture and ended up finishing 4th. Arsene Wenger wanted to make a statement, and that statement would be Alexis Sanchez. After impressing in the 2014 World Cup, Arsenal agreed a £35 million deal to bring the Chilean forward to the Emirates. With the signing of Mesut Ozil the previous summer, this was yet another statement of intent from the Gunners. Wenger praised Sanchez's versatility and ruthless edge in front of goal, saying, "He's a striker and he's a good finisher. I like the fact that he can play left, right, up front, and that's why I went for him." Sanchez and Arsenal hit the ground running, winning the Community Shield against Manchester City to begin the season in style. Playing 52 games across all competitions, Alexis proved to be a reliable and lethal forward, scoring 25 goals and setting up a further 12, most of which coming from out wide. A third place finish and an FA Cup win made for a great first 12 months for Sanchez, capping off the season with a stunner in the aforementioned cup final and establishing himself quickly as a real fan favourite at the Emirates. Despite a lacklustre summer transfer window in 2015, Arsenal won a second consecutive Community Shield and finished runners-up to Leicester in the most bizarre Premier League season of all time. It was here that Sanchez established himself as Arsenal's starting left winger, registering 27 goal contributions, 10 of which came in Arsenal's final 10 games, not losing in any. 24 league goals in the next season, narrowly missing out on the Golden Boot thanks to Harry Kane, and Sanchez was once again a wanted man, this time further up north. Manchester City, now managed by Pep Guardiola of Barcelona, the same man who took him there, was sniffing around. Rumours of a massive move circulated non-stop for months. However, in January 2018, they pulled out of a deal, citing unrealistic wage demands as the deal breaker. Alexis, however, didn't have to look too far away to find a willing suitor. In fact, just 4 miles away at Old Trafford. With Manchester City steamrolling the league on their way to an unprecedented 100-point season, United under Jose Mourinho were aiming to be the best of the rest. Having signed top names such as Romelu Lukaku and Nemanja Matic that summer, and young players such as Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial establishing themselves, Jose wanted 2 things. 1, a top-class forward to complete the team, and 2, to stick it up our rivals. Still hurting from Robin van Persie 5.5 years prior, Arsenal fans got a horrible sense of deja vu. On the 22nd of January 2018, as part of a swap deal seeing Mkhitaryan going to North London, Manchester United announced the signing of Alexis Sanchez. In one of the most iconic signing announcements to date, featuring a classical rendition of Glory Glory Man United, Alexis Sanchez was officially our new number 7. Donning the iconic shirt, the 29-year-old was tipped to be the missing piece of the puzzle. Signing a massive £350,000 a week contract, around triple what he was earning at Arsenal, Sanchez became, at the time, the highest earner in Premier League history. Was it worth it? No. Did his fans care though? Of course not. We'd just mugged Arsenal off once again. In his first interview signing for United, Sanchez said, "I'm thrilled to be joining the biggest club in the world. I've spent 3.5 wonderful years at Arsenal, and I bring with me very positive memories of that great club and its fans. The chance to play in this historic stadium and to work with Jose Mourinho was something I could not turn down." It took just 2 weeks for Sanchez to score his first goal in a United shirt. A rebounded penalty against Huddersfield, United would win 8 of their next 10 league games. Everything seemed great, right? No. In fact, it was the opposite. Speaking on social media years after his move, Sanchez claimed he wanted to return to Arsenal after just 1 day of training at Carrington. "The first training session I had, I realised many things. I came home and I told my representative, can't the contract be terminated to return to Arsenal? They started laughing and I told them that something did not sit right with me. It had already been signed." Sanchez struggled to find his identity at United. As the dust settled, fans realised this signing was as much about stopping rivals getting him as it was bolstering United's attack. Anthony Martial, who had established himself as United's left winger with 13 league goal contributions before Sanchez signed, was one of the biggest victims. Not scoring a single goal for the rest of the season, many fans felt that Sanchez had destroyed Martial's form. Marcus Rashford's difficult season continued as well, scoring just 7 in the league for that whole campaign, with inconsistent starts and constant changing of positions not helping. Fans quickly gained a sense of resentment for the signing. United was, and still is, all about giving young players the platform to shine, especially those who've come from the youth setup. And all of a sudden, the highest paid player in Premier League history was getting in the way. It couldn't have been further from the club's ideology. Had United scouted the person, as well as the player, perhaps they wouldn't have made this signing. Speaking just after his departure from Arsenal, journalist Rafa Honigstein said, "It's been underreported just how badly the whole Arsenal dressing room hated Alexis Sanchez. They really felt he was just playing up for the camera. He was doing all these things like, 'Oh, I'm trying. What are the rest of you doing?' Arsenal put up stats inside the dressing room after every game showing distance run, the passing, etc. Sanchez would regularly come out with the lowest mileage by a big distance." Sanchez had seemingly graduated from the Pep Guardiola school of playing it up for the cameras and had become lazy, the complete antithesis of what the young, determined forward once was. Whether it was the salary, the setup, the players and coaches, or a mix of all, Alexis Sanchez lost something, and at United, it never recovered. It was around the same time the wheels started to come off for Jose's reign at United. With press conference outbursts and reports of dressing room unrest, there was a real lack of faith in the special one. And despite a heroic 3-2 comeback against Newcastle in October 2018, with Sanchez scoring the late winner, his only Premier League goal that entire season, it wasn't long before Jose would be sacked. Next came Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and while it lifted the team beyond what anyone could have imagined, it did nothing for Alexis Sanchez. Injury issues and on-field inconsistency turned the once electric, direct and must-see forward into a shadow of his former self. And that's why in the summer of 2019, United fans rejoiced as it was announced that Alexis Sanchez would join Inter Milan on loan, with the deal becoming permanent the following season. Finally, after 18 months, the burden and wages were no more. Leaving the failure of Manchester United behind him, Sanchez enjoyed himself more in his subsequent moves to Inter and then Marseille, getting back to scoring ways and collecting trophies, winning the Scudetto twice, the Italian Cup, and 2 Italian Super Cups across 2 stints in Milan. However, the year and a half with Manchester United will always tarnish the legacy of a once world-class player, now known as yet another big money flop at Old Trafford, and quite possibly the worst signing in Manchester United's history.